My boyfriend of a year completely redesigned my wardrobe and ignores me in public when I don't wear the clothes he bought me. So I, 22F, have been dating my boyfriend, who I'll call Troy, 22M, for close to a year now, and for the most part, things have been great. My friends love him, my parents love him, and even my aunts and uncles, who he's never met, love him because of what my parents say about him. But lately, I've been feeling insecure about our relationship because of something that's been going on since we got together. Some backstory: Troy and I started off as friends and then we moved in together. What we did most with our free time was clothes shopping. Troy is very stylish and always gets showered in compliments whenever we go out, and people always ask him where he gets his clothes. So I loved shopping with Troy because he always picked out great outfits for me to wear. And guess what? He knows women's fashion too. But things were different before we started dating because I was the one paying for my clothes, and I obviously didn't spend money on things that I didn't feel comfortable wearing, even if he liked them. Fast forward to us dating, and there's barely any clothing in my closet left that I bought or had much say in buying. I get complimented on my clothes often, which I like, but my friends and coworkers just default to saying things like, "Tell Troy he did a good job." How I dress doesn't define me, but I feel like I've lost part of who I am and a bit of my individuality. I also live in a very hot location, and for some reason, no matter what Troy wears, he never seems to sweat. I, however, sweat like crazy, so sometimes I dress comfortably. When I do, I can tell he's a little embarrassed to be out with me. He hates tank tops on women and never wears sweats in public, and before him, I wore those things a lot. He's a really nice guy about it and he's never asked me to change, but I can tell he's uncomfortable when I dress down. It's a struggle to get him to hold my hand. He spends more time on his phone than usual, and he won't kiss me in public. And on top of that, I don't even have to be dressed in really bummy clothing for him to act like this either. If we don't match in terms of style when we go out, he behaves differently. I'm starting to hate going out of the house with him. I've talked to him about it, and he says he doesn't think it's so bad that he isn't as affectionate in public when I'm not dressed well because he's very affectionate when we're at home, no matter what I wear. So I just want to know if I'm wrong to be insecure. Is this actually an issue, or am I creating an issue in our relationship with my own insecurity? Top/relevant comments. Commenter. A year in, and he won't be affectionate with you in public if you are not a fashion plate. What if you get sick, gain weight, have an acne flare-up, get hurt, or experience any number of things that could affect your appearance? Will he just drop you altogether? I think this is intensely weird. It seems like he is affectionate with you in public not because he cares about you, but because of the image you are projecting. This is not normal, and you can find somebody who won't be able to keep his hands off you even if you were in a potato sack. Commenter 2. It has nothing to do with your insecurities and everything to do with his. He's embarrassed to be seen with you when you don't meet his standards, and that is a huge red flag. If you're starting to hate going out of the house with him and he doesn't seem to care about a compromise, I would really evaluate the relationship. Is what you have at home enough for you to give into dressing how he wants you to, or would you rather be with someone who makes you feel beautiful no matter what you're wearing? However, if you really like this guy, you could try to stick it out to see what the root of his issue is. Was he bullied before? Does he feel he has to portray a certain image to avoid being judged? You could try to work through that with him, if he seems willing. I, myself, would run fast. I like dressing up, but I love being comfortable. Commenter 3. If Troy were older, or if this were 20-ish years ago, I'd swear you were talking about my friend David. David did this to the first several girls he dated. And I mean right down to the pouty, ignoring behavior if his girlfriend was dressed down when they went out. David is now married to Lance. David is gay. More accurately, David is gay except when he's got a doll to dress, and then he is totally able to be attracted to her. As soon as she'd rebel, as any self-respecting woman eventually will, he'd suddenly lose all attraction and would move on. I would say that David has a kink for dressing women, but only wants anything to do with them sexually or romantically when they allow him to do so. Otherwise? He's completely and utterly gay. But he was about 35 before he actually figured that out or was willing to admit it. Now, I have no idea if that's true of Troy or not, but I gotta tell you, reading your post was like reading a biography of David when he was the same age. Update 1 day later. I read a lot of your comments, and some were helpful, but it got really uncomfortable in there, so I didn't really want to respond. I know this is a throwaway, but I was still a little anxious about replying to some of those comments. To be honest, I never planned to do an update. It didn't seem like the type of post that needed one, and even if I did plan to, I didn't expect that I would need to so soon. However, things got a little weird tonight/yesterday, depending on your time zone, I don't know. So basically, I feel horrible about myself now because of what happened tonight, and I'm just waiting for all of this to blow over. I woke up a few hours after I posted last night, read your responses on my phone, my boyfriend cooked breakfast, and we both went off to work just like usual, no biggie. He gets home before me, so when I got back, he was sitting in the living room watching TV, so I sat down next to him and we just watched silently. I didn't say anything for the entire episode of the show because I figured he would have said something first if he wanted to talk. It seemed like he had something on his mind, so I asked him if something was the matter, and he said no. Then I asked him why he was being so quiet. He apologized, sort of perked up, and asked if I wanted to go out to this bar/restaurant/bookstore place we'd gone to a while ago that we really liked. I said yes. A few hours passed and he seemed a little mopey, but I just let him do his own thing, figuring he'd tell me what's wrong when he was ready. He let me know he wanted to leave soon, so he went into the room to get dressed, and I joined him. Now, I understand I might get some judgment for this based on all the complaints I made in my original post, but I like to ask Troy's opinion on what I should wear sometimes. I'll pull some things out of the closet and ask him what he thinks, and he'll give an honest opinion about it. Anyways, I picked out a shirt and skirt that he bought me and asked him what he thought, and he stopped to think for a bit, walked to the closet, dug all the way in the back, and pulled out some of the clothes I bought for myself a long time ago. He told me he thought I would really look good in the outfit tonight and he'd like to see me in it since I haven't worn it in a while. So I obliged, put the clothes on, and we were off. It felt really good for him to do that for me. In all fairness, the clothes looked really nice, like something he'd usually pick out, but it's been so long since he's recommended I wear my older clothes, and it felt like he was intentionally being nice. Troy continued to act a little different the entire night, and I didn't know why. When he parked, he walked over to the passenger's side and opened the door for me, then he extended his hand to help me out of the car and didn't let go of my hand after I was out, not in a violent way, he was just holding my hand. It was nice, but it wasn't what I was used to. When we got inside, he was pretty quiet, similar to how I said he acted when I didn't wear what he wanted, but every time I acted concerned about his behavior, he would dismiss it and bring up a topic to talk about. The things he brought up were just random small talk type things, nothing that could sustain a significant conversation, so the evening was kinda awkward. We left about 2 hours later, and I still didn't know what was going on. We were both silent in the car for a bit, and then he suddenly broke the silence by saying, "I don't want you to think that I'm ashamed of you when you're not all dolled up how I like." My heart sank into my stomach when he said that. I just replied, "Where did that come from?" He said he was just thinking about it. But I knew where, and I was screaming inside my head. I realized I never signed out of this throwaway account on my laptop, and he must have stumbled upon my post from yesterday. When we got home, I just figured we were past the point of no return, so I pulled up my laptop, found the post, and asked him what he had to say about it. He was shocked at first, and then he realized I knew he knew I knew. I never thought I'd use that phrase in a serious way. He asked how much I agreed with the comments, but I saw what he was getting at, so I told him that I wasn't about to break up with him. Then he told me he needed to clarify something. It was a long explanation, so I'm going to paraphrase. He told me that he knows he acts like a jerk sometimes by ignoring me, but that it's not entirely about me not wearing his clothes. Basically, he told me he gets quiet and distant with me about other things too, but he's not trying to manipulate me, he just feels stuck. By stuck, he meant that he, 1, gets upset by something I do, 2, doesn't want to lash out, 3, wants to bring it up to me, and 4, realizes that the issue is really small and he's embarrassed to admit it bothers him, so he ends up upset and quiet. He's afraid I'll call him sensitive and get annoyed at him for it, which I've never done. He said with the clothes thing it was never really about the clothes, it was about this thing he says I do. Apparently, I go out of my way to get his opinion on something for me and then just ignore it and make the choice that I wanted to make in the first place, which bothers him, and that's what I did those handful of times when he ignored me in public. I sort of called BS on that because of the comment he made about him thinking it was okay to only forget about how I'm dressed when we're home, and then he told me he just said that because he was annoyed at me and he knew it would bother me. Then he brought up an occasion where I dressed how I wanted to and he didn't treat me differently in public and how he never packs my bags for me when we leave town. I told him that not communicating with me when he's upset isn't okay and that it hurts me when he ignores me, and he acknowledged that it was wrong. But honestly, at that point I was feeling like the jerk. Here I am, showing him a group of people on the internet that pretty much hate him now based on some misunderstandings, calling him names and telling me to leave him, and my laptop light is just shining in his face the whole time. It got pretty silent and awkward. I was just sitting there staring at him while he stared at the ground. But then he says, "Did you see the guy that called me a gay douchebag?" And he laughed, so I felt comfortable laughing. We both apologized and hugged for a really long time, and he told me he was going to bed. He usually goes to bed a lot later than he did, but I didn't feel like I should stop him. So I'm currently feeling pretty crappy, but things will probably be okay by tomorrow. And I guess I'm glad he found the post because we really reached an understanding tonight because of it. I'm just really embarrassed for getting it wrong. It was just that comment he made that one time we were out that made me think all those things and led me to those conclusions about his opinion of me. I wish he never said that, but I guess that's that. This is probably my first and final update. No need to push this story any further. Just assume things turn out well for us and cross your fingers that I don't have a reason to update again. Edit. I'm awake again, and based on a lot of similar responses, I suppose I should clarify some things. His explanation was really long as to why he does what he does, so I didn't include everything he said, and I guess I left out some really important information. He apologized for how he behaves when he gets quiet sometimes, and he told me how much of an issue it is for him. He says he's lost a friend in the past because of it, because they eventually got fed up with his attitude and spent less and less time with him, and it's something he's really been trying to work on. We both know it's an issue. He knows I don't approve, but I'm trying to get him more comfortable telling me when he's upset. Another point I want to make is that I don't feel like he shifted the blame on me for how he acts. I don't feel as though me changing my mind and ignoring his suggestion is right, but neither of us feel like the way he responds is okay either. He was just telling me why he acted the way he did. I understood where he was coming from, but that doesn't mean I approved. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. He played that really well, turning it around to make up the bad guy and second guess herself. Ops response. All he did was tell me why he acted that way. I don't feel blamed. Even if his goal was to blame me and he wasn't just trying to communicate an issue with me, I wouldn't have felt any blame. We both think that when he gets quiet he's being crappy regardless of what I've done because nothing gets resolved and I don't even know the real issue. But just because he's at fault for something doesn't mean I don't want to hear his motivations for his actions. Commenter 2. You know that he realized he was being a douche, so he changed for one single night so you would doubt yourself, and then turned it all around on you, right? He knew he effed up, that's why he picked out some of your old clothes for you. Instead of admitting it, though, he tried to shift the blame onto you. Dude, if you're reading this, you need to confront the way you have been behaving, admit it, and apologize. You need to have a plan for how you are going to tackle this behavior of yours in the future. If Op asks your opinion and then decides to wear something else, there is absolutely nothing wrong with her doing that. By the way, she wants your opinion, she doesn't want you to dress her, and you are upset by that. Are you going to communicate how you are feeling, acknowledge it, and work on getting past that irrational feeling without guilting her into doing what you want? Op's response. I agree with most of what you said, but I don't necessarily agree with how you view the way he behaved yesterday. I think he had better intentions than you're giving him credit for. I mean, without me asking or letting me know that he saw the post and thought he was being a jerk, he decided to adjust his behavior and try to make things up to me. The things he did were nice, and he was at least trying to show me he could be different. And he eventually told me that he was okay with me dressing how I wanted in public. If a guy messed up and knew I was upset, so he bought me flowers and chocolate to make up for it, I wouldn't shoot him down and tell him I didn't care because he was only doing it because he messed up. I realize it's just a peace offering, but it opens the door to us discussing an issue we had in a civil manner. Commenter 3. Don't ever let anyone make you feel bad for genuinely asking for advice. We don't know you beyond the posts you've written, so most people on the internet will look for a logical formula and go for it. He's only happy when you're wearing what he buys you? Sexist. Gay. Controlling. Abusive. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't, but at the end of the day, you probably had a few more ways to explain his behavior and ideas on how to deal with it. Yes, he is a jerk for throwing a tantrum when you didn't wear the clothes he bought you. Yes, you may have missed some fairly obvious flags from him, and yes, he will probably feel betrayed because you turned to a bunch of strangers for advice who overwhelmingly condemned not only his behavior, but him. You tried to find a solution, and while maybe it wasn't the best, quickest/easiest/most just, one, it's better to try and fix something than ignore it and watch it turn into ugly resentment. He has a right to share what he finds attractive, and you have a right to wear whatever you feel comfortable in. In a relationship, there are always compromises, but at the end of the day, you should love your partner as they are and talk to them if something is negatively affecting your relationship. Good luck, Op.